Under the right circumstances, a lot of women are willing to risk it all. They'll throw away a relationship just for that moment if the circumstances and everything leading up to it are perfect. This is what I'm going to describe today. It's a personal story of mine, and there's many that I'm going to give to you throughout this time on the YouTube channel. But this one in particular, I think will have your jaw drop. I mean, at this point, with everything that's out, maybe it won't surprise you as much, but I'm going to go through it step by step, okay? So this is some years back. Some people that I went to middle school with, and a lot of us ended up splitting up going into high school, right? We all went to the same elementary school. I transferred there because I moved from out of town, so I was only with them for about two years. But we all kept in touch on Facebook. This is before I got canceled the first time and all that and had to make new accounts. So, everybody follows each other. Then out of the blue, one of the girls is like, hey, I'm going to have, a reunion. I think at that time it had been 10 years, maybe a little bit more since we had graduated middle school, right? I think it was the early 2010s, maybe 2010, 2011, right? So we're like in our mid 20s at that point, something like that. I can't remember the exact dates, right? So excuse me on that. But basically, hey, we're going to get together. So it's organized. The day shows up. It's at one of the girls' houses. I think if I remember right, there was maybe 12 or 15 of us. I mean, there wasn't that many. There was a little bit more throughout the day, but as it went into the night, a lot of people left, a lot of alcohol, a lot of drinks. Now, let me give you context. All of us are getting together, and most of us hadn't seen each other or hung out in a long time, right? A lot of the girls are in relationships. The main host, I won't give her name. She's, engaged, about to get married, right? All kinds of stuff. Now, very early on in the during the party, the girl that was going to get married, and some of the other girls were really kind of gassing me up, like, "Oh man, you look so good," and you grew a little bit, like, because you guys have to remember when I was in eighth grade, I was nowhere near what I am now. I looked the same technically, right? But I had braces, I was skinny, and I was short. And really throughout high school, I grew a little bit, and then really from 18 till about 21 is when I hit that final growth spurt where I hit like my ripe, you know, end height of where I'm at now, which is like 6'2", maybe 6'3". I don't know. I'm 6'2", I think, right? But let's call it 6'3". And then I had braces back then and all that. So even though I was a star athlete, I wasn't like the tall, perfect looking person back then, right? So I kind of blossomed a little bit later, you can say. So these girls are making these comments, and I'm making note of it, and I'm kind of sitting there like, I already know at the time. I'm already up on game. I'm like, man, these chicks are in relationships and they're over here, drinking and complimenting another man. Like, this is crazy, right? So keep in mind, this girl is hosting it at her parents' house, which I'm not sure if she still lived there then. I'm going to assume she did. She's married, the host, remember. We're having a good time. Everybody's laughing. We're having a good time. I'm going to cut out a lot of the details just so I don't bore you guys for about 30 minutes, but everyone's having fun. Da, da, da. Now, fast forward to the end of the night. Everybody's, drinking, right? At this point, I would say half the party or more is completely drunk and wasted. Now, mind you, I didn't have too much interaction with anybody individually. It wasn't like I was macking a chick there the whole time. I was just kind of catching up with people. I really went there innocently. I didn't go there like, oh, I like this chick or this other girl and I wanted to hook up with them. I wasn't really on that time. I was just there having fun. I even had one of my friends come, one of my basketball friends who didn't go to school with us. He just joined in on the party. But when you fast forward at the end of the night, right? I'm trying to remember all the circumstances that led up to it. But at one point, the way that the pool is set up, right? She has a pool at this house, and then there's a jacuzzi right next to it, like, when it's connected, but there was a drop off. So the jacuzzi was up here, right? The cement on the outside kind of dropped a little bit. So you had the jacuzzi here, there'd be a small drop, and then you had the pool, right? So at one point, everybody's up in the jacuzzi. Me and the host end up like literally right there beneath it. We're making out, we're doing our thing, and she's literally attempting to have sex with me, right? She's grabbing my thing, right? Pulling off her panties, right? Her swimsuit, and literally trying to put it in, like no protection, no nothing. Now at the time I was, super drunk, and all I know is we didn't end up, having sex, right? I just straight up couldn't get it in her, right? Which kind of surprised me, right? And the circumstances leading up to that, a lot of drinking, we do that. Then right after that, I already knew because people were like kind of laughing and giggling. They saw this. So keep in mind, this is a spectacle. There's lights on in the pool. Her parents are inside. We got like, 9, 10, 11, 12 people, however many are left up in the jacuzzi. We're front and center, and this chick is trying to F me in front of everybody. Keep in mind, she's engaged, about to be married pretty soon. This is wild. Now, I have other stories similar to these, not the exact same situation, but like the audacity of it. And I'm kind of sitting there like, dude, I haven't seen this chick in, 10 years. Maybe she liked me back in the day. I don't know. But you think about it logically and you're like, why would you put yourself in that position? Alcohol or not? Because alcohol, all it does, you can't blame alcohol. We have to take responsibility. That's who you are. It's taking off the filters that you have and it's letting your true nature come out. So this chick was magically in this moment with a little bit of alcohol so fascinated and infatuated by me that she'd be willing to risk everything just to try to hook up with me. Now I'm glad we didn't actually end up having intercourse because it would have been unprotected. But come on, man. This is wild. And all it took was me looking good and being that dude, right? Again, she's married. You throw in a little bit of alcohol, right? Again, the dude's not there. And a lot of women wonder why us dudes are very protective of women that we're in relationships with, and we don't want you in environments like that. All it takes is one dude like me to show up, good looking, and that's it. So you have to understand it from our perspective, and this highlights it. I'm sure other people will have stories in the comment section that are similar. And again, that's one of many stories that I have with chicks that are engaged, married, whatever, where they wanted to do the dance with me or whatever. And I'm just like, and in those circumstances too, again, the pool's lit up. There's other people literally right there in the jacuzzi. Your parents are there. This is wild. This is wild. So we have to start looking at this thing as individuals and say, okay, maybe human nature isn't as logical as people claim it is. Maybe we can't just say, oh, this is my girlfriend or this is my husband and wife and just expect the best behavior because of the titles. Maybe we need to make sure, again, as a man or a woman, you would have to tell yourself, even if I can go to that environment and control myself, I'm not going to put myself in that environment out of respect for the person that I'm with. It would have been really bad if I was in a relationship during that time too. But if I agreed to be in a monogamous relationship with a chick, I'm not going to fuck around if I agreed to that, right? Because I actually have honor, unlike most people. But you see, I'm sure the dude wasn't her husband, right? Her soon-to-be husband wasn't comfortable with her being there and doing that and it getting out of control. Now, the next day, I get some sob call from her like, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. I was like, look, you have nothing to apologize about. We're good. I'm not going to blab to anybody. You're fine. As long as you're good with your guy, who cares, right? And then I would see them in passing at the gym, right? Because I think she was visiting from being at school and her husband was there. And, he shook my hand and everything. I'm like, dude. I almost looked at him like, are you sure you want to marry her, bro? Like, looking wild, man. So, but again, the dude fit the archetype of what I thought he was going to be. Soft-spoken, wouldn't look at me in the eyes. And I'm just sitting there like, these dudes have no idea, right? Like what they're getting themselves into. But it makes sense. She's kind of in the front running the show, more of the masculine role, and he's more passive. So that dynamic kind of made sense. But keep in mind, who did she want to sleep with? Who was she willing to throw everything away for? Me, who's the exact opposite of her man. From a character, portrayal, presence standpoint at the core, right? I'm the opposite of passive and all that. I'm very much more aggressive in your face, right? I'm not going to hide how I feel. I'm going to speak my mind, right? So we have to understand this dynamic. So as a man, you need to protect your woman from themselves. This is why in my past relationships, that type of stuff doesn't go down. So up front, I'm going to set that boundary to say, we're not going to do it. If you're not okay with that, totally cool. You can live your life, but we're not going to be a thing because I can't take you serious. And number two, if we're together and then you pull that ish, we are done. No questions asked. Just like I tell every girl when we get together too. If I find out that you're cheating or whatever, you're not going to hear from me again. I'm just going to block you and get rid of you, and that's it. I won't even confront you and do the drama and take you back. I'm just done. If I find out you're lying or being deceitful about anything, we're done. So come clean now. And if it's something that makes us not be together, good. Because then if you want to build a relationship on falsehoods and lies, whether they're small or big, later on, if I find out that you lied early on, we're done. I don't care if we're 1 year together or 10 years together. And I've kept that. I've been given ultimatums in relationships. Peace. Sorry. I don't care if we've been together a year, 2 years, 5 years, doesn't matter. But you got to hold that as a man. But again, under the right circumstances, a woman will be willing to throw it all away. Again, remember what I just said. This is in front of people, a lit up pool at her parents' house in front of everybody. Everybody knew exactly what you could hear them. They were practically watching us. And shame on her friends if any of them knew that she was about to get engaged and didn't even try to pull her away and let her go with it. I wouldn't be surprised if her friends egged her on to try to hook up with me. Her friends, right? You see, but this is that mischievous. That's why you have to also pay attention to who her friends are. If her friends are HOEs and they're doing that type of stuff, you literally got to say, okay, you're going to be with me or you're going to be friends with them. You can't have both. And people are wondering why more and more, and it's becoming more front and center now as these stories come out, why there's a lot of distrust or this whole, well, you're insecure. No, we're not. We're very secure, actually. We're the opposite, because I'm telling you, I will not put up with that. So you have the choice to do it anyway, but then we won't be together. That's as secure as it gets. I'm giving you a line, and if you cross it, we're done. That's super secure. That's not operating from fear of loss. That's operating from a position of choice and saying, hey, this is what it is. The insecure person will zip it and not say anything out of fear of loss. That's the insecure person, right? I know I have to reiterate that a million times, but apparently that word gets thrown around. I don't really hear it, but I've heard other people say, oh, so-and-so called me insecure. I'm like, that's not insecure at all. It's actually the opposite. And what's funny is last time I was like in a kind of party scenario, like a couple of years ago, somebody brought that up and then I made my argument. No, actually it's the opposite. And even the girls believe me, right? But it's probably just because I said it in a masculine way and I didn't apologize for it. That's probably what it was. Emotion, delivery, right? So as a man, be careful. And as a woman, you have to get this. And this is why it's important that as a woman, you navigate properly and not put yourself in that environment. Understand the value of having good friends and how we view you as men. Because I was willing to hook up with her there, but do you think I would have a serious relationship with that chick? No. Even if I found her super physically attractive, which she was okay. Probably above average in looks. Probably a 6, maybe a 7, right? But that type of behavior, again, will put her in the fun category. We won't put her in a relationship category. And you can't be in the middle or kind of in both. You're in one or the other, clearly. That's it. Again, I hadn't seen that girl in a decade. We never spoke. I go to the party. We drink a couple hours later, wanting to have unprotected sex with me in her pool, her parents' pool, in front of everybody. Wild. Wild, man. So you guys really got to move accordingly and understand that at times, we, like men in a relationship or women in a relationship, are going to be put in positions like that. How are you going to act? Because a lot of people want the best of both worlds. They want to say, hey, I'm going to be with this person and not mess around with them, but then they want to engage in that type of behavior or claim that they miss it. Can't have both. Can't have both. And you need to have some honor. So pay very close attention when people are put in those positions, how they act. But number two, if they talk about the past or you hear stories, pay very close attention to in those environments when there was temptation or every reason and ability to do something wrong, pay attention to what they did, because that tells you what their true character is, because that's when you really know what somebody's about. What they do when nobody's looking, when they know they're not going to get caught. What are they going to do? Are they going to do the right thing, the honorable thing, or are they going to be shady? That tells you everything that you need to know. All right? Peace.